Bom dia, espero que você tenha um ótimo dia. This is your man Larry, the American Brazilian. I hope you guys had a awesome weekend and are having a good day thus far. Listen, you guys don't see me often. Like, I'm not a guy that makes videos every week or every day or every other week for that matter. I make videos based on the level of importance a topic might be to me or what's going on or something that I think that's relevant. And this is no exception. So today I want to ask you a question before I actually get into what I want to say. And that question is this: what would you do and how would you handle it? I recently saw a snippet of an interview between former NFL player, now turned podcaster Cam Newton, and the shocking, polarizing individual known as Charleston White, which he says a lot of good things. He does it in, he's the quintessential castor oil of YouTube. It's like it doesn't taste good when it's going down, but it definitely is good for you. In any event, the topic was, well, Cam Newton asked the question. And of course, everything is was still surrounding the whole Cassie Diddy situation or incident. And Cam Newton asked Charleston White, would he intervene if he came across a situation where a man and a woman were involved in a physical altercation? And Cam Newton's response was, equivocally or unequivocally, he would intervene, no questions asked. And because he believed that for a man rather, not to, then that would be something that would be a hit on his masculinity. In other words, you're a chump, you're a punk, you're a sucker if you don't intervene. And Charleston White had something that was very interesting, which I kind of figured he would say what he was going to say, but he always quantifies his responses. This was no different. And so what he said was that he would not intervene, and here's why. He said he knows of many situations whereby men have lost their lives simply trying to intervene in situations that had nothing to do with them, only to lose their lives or be put in very bad situations, and then the woman is still going to the very person who, quote unquote, abused her and hurt her physically. Now, you intervene thinking that you're helping, and then the very person that you're helping turns around and, gets back with the person that abused. I think they call it like Stockholm. They fall in love with the abuse or whatever. But not every situation is like that. He went on to say, when he sees something like that, or if somebody in the general public sees something like that, you have to be very careful and you also have to be mindful, because you don't know why the situation came to the place where you saw it, where you found it. Why did it come to a head? Why did it, the end result was a physical altercation? I remember, and we have to be careful, because I understand as a man, you see somebody who we deem, weaker, not in a bad way of being pejorative, but just like strength wise. And you want to intervene, you want to help, you want to try to minimize and try to bring some peace and some resolve to the situation. But it's not always good to do that, because you just don't know what led or what caused the situation to escalate and get to that end result. I remember as a kid growing up in the hood, and I don't know if I would imagine many of you or some of you who grew up in the hood, I'll say it euphemistically, the inner city. We were exposed to a lot of situations that no child should be exposed to. And many of us, myself included, had a mom and dad at home, but still, not everybody had both parents. So there were certain situations, even with the mom and dad, that we were exposed to that no child should ever seen. I remember hearing a knock, like a frantic knock on the door, and there was something always going on in our neighborhood. Again, it was the hood, so there was something always going on. And my mom opened the door, and this lady, she was gorgeous. She was like one of the most beautiful women in the neighborhood. My mom opened the door and literally if leaking like a faucet was a person, she would be the poster child for that. She was literally leaking from the top of her head, from her nose, from her mouth, to her cheek, to her eyes. I mean, her chin, everything was just like when I say pouring, I mean pouring blood. And so I'm sitting there watching like, and I heard the whole conversation. She said that her husband beat her with an axe handle, and he was very physically abusive. And so my mom kind of tried to scurry me back in the room. But of course, as a kid, you're nosy, you're peeking around the corner kind of see what's going on. And my mom simply said, I think you need to get the police involved. And my dad was in the back room. And I noticed my mom never went and got my dad to try to be a hero. My mom said, baby, you need to call the police. You need to get the authorities involved because this has been happening a lot. And so you need to get the authorities involved. And of course, I heard as much as I could before my mom realized that I was peeking. And of course, I don't know how the conversation ended, but I know I know who didn't go, my dad and my mom. By the time my dad found out, my mom was telling her the situation. And I think my dad ran across the guy and they had a conversation, but not a situation where my dad was trying to check him, just a conversation, because again, this was something that would happen regularly. I also was aware of this guy. He was one of the guys in the neighborhood, handsome guy, in the neighborhood that a lot of the women liked. And one day I saw him and he was limping. He had his arm was not immobile, and he didn't have the use of it very much, and his leg was in not a cast, but something like that. But he was messed up. And I was like, wow, is this the same guy? And so I asked my mom, I said, Mom, what happened to him? And my mom said he got involved in something that he had no business. And I said, what happened? And she said, he saw a man and a woman fighting. He went to try to intervene and got stabbed up. And some of the parts of his body no longer work because of where he got hurt at. And I made a mental note of that. And it was weird. As a kid, I connected that situation, and I connected the situation where I saw the lady in the neighborhood that would, frequently go in these situations. I connected both of those situations. And the conclusion that I got, even as a young kid, was maybe it's not good to intervene in certain situations simply because we don't know why they occur. I remember a buddy of mine, OG, he and his uncle was riding in a car, and they were passing by a man and a woman in a physical altercation, and he was about to open the car, attempting to try to intervene, and his uncle, how you reach your hand across somebody's chest, and he stopped him. He looked at his uncle like, what? And he pulled over a ways past the altercation, and he said, do you know why they're in that altercation? Do you know why they're fighting? And he said, no, but he said, no, not but. If you don't know why, that's none of your business. You don't intervene. That was another situation. Another guy who I would see on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. I noticed I stopped seeing him. He intervened in a physical altercation between a woman and her boyfriend, and he got shot with a shotgun. He lost his life. What am I saying? I am not telling anybody not to. You can do whatever it is you want to do, because I understand how, as a man, you feel when you see something like that. But it's not always good to intervene, because, and Charleston White said this, he said, unfortunately, it's always the good guy who bears the brunt of I guess you can say, and I won't put it in his words, of the crap. Because usually when it goes wrong, it's that good guy who ends up hurt, physically maimed, in the hospital for a prolonged period of time, losing certain things because he can no longer be active and physically fit like he normally was, and ultimately his life, and then his children might suffer. The people that he's responsible for taking care of, he puts his life on the line to save someone who he doesn't know, only to lose his own life or alter the state of his life irreparably. And then the people who he had responsibility to take care of, their collateral damage, because he tried to do the right thing, because he tried to do what he believed at that time was the right thing. So what am I saying? Well, I'm just asking you guys a question. What do you think? What would you do? Have you ever seen a situation like that? Have you ever intervened? If so, how did it turn out? Now, I know some people, when they see this video, they might be triggered and they might say, well, you're just, men are scared. That's, men are cowards these days. I don't care what the situation is. You should always intervene. Most women would say that, and I understand it. I get it. I understand why you'll say that. But I think most women don't understand why a man would say, it's none of my business. I'm going to stay out of it. And oftentimes people who don't understand why men are apprehensive in intervening in situations like that, physical altercations between a man and a woman, what they usually say is they'll move the goalpost and they'll go to extremes. They'll say, well, that woman could be in the process of being kidnapped, or just some other outlandish story that kind of justifies a man putting his life on the line. What I'm talking about, what I'm speaking on, is normal occurrences. When I say normal, I mean a relationship between people who know each other, between people who are romantically involved, either married or in a long-term relationship. And so in those situations, I think that people will do well to be very careful on how they, or if they should intervene, because again, when you intervene in situations like that, you also have to realize that you're putting your life on the line as well. And then you have to ask yourself a question: was that worth it? I remember there are two celebrities, I'm not going to call their names, and one of them was, beat very, very bad. They were young at the time, and allegedly a person that was very close to the situation said that the reason why why there was a physical altercation, because this person tested positive for something that he couldn't get rid of, and as a result became violent and became enraged and just kind of lost his composure. Now, saying something like that, most guys would be like, most women might be like, yeah, I can kind of see how something like that would occur. And again, this is no justification of physical violence amongst anybody, man or woman or man. This is no justification or anything. What I'm saying is, sometimes in life, we have to be able to understand why things occur, even if we disagree with them. And I think that's a sign of maturity. However, I'm not going to prolong this video. I just kind of want to get what you guys think. I want to get your take. Again, has it ever happened to you? And if you come across it, how would you handle it? In any event, fala conversar mais tarde. I'll talk to you guys later. This is your man Larry, the American Brazilian, saying até breve. É verdade. It's true.